All right, all right. Okay. Is everybody on? Got one person in. Okay. Should be two people joining. There we are. Okay. So let's now get into the 5 foundations. So from here forward, we're actually going to be covering mostly. Sorry, let me back up. From here forward, we're mostly going to be doing the practices. I'm going to spend a little bit of time each day talking about the practices, but from here forward, it's going to be way less theory and a lot more doing practice together. So everything we've done up to now is just sort of getting you into retreat mode and getting you motivated and getting you oriented with the material. And hopefully you'll see, having gone through in brief the 9 stages and everything that's involved in meditation, you'll now see why I've arranged the 5 foundations in this way, or at least begin to understand that. And as I said during the breaks, please do, in each YouTube video, I'm putting the documents that are being covered in the description for the YouTube video. So please do follow along in the actual documents. And during your break, especially the big one, I was telling someone during in the chat between sessions, you can, of course, take a nap if you need to, or just rest during the break. You probably need to eat lunch during that time, or depending on what time zone you're in. In any case, one thing that you should definitely do during the breaks is read the actual documents that are associated with these portions of the training that we're doing. So from 7 o'clock until bedtime, and from about 11:30 in the morning until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Use that time to rest, recover, prepare to do more meditation for the second half of the day, and also to read some of these things in more detail so that you're becoming more aware of what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. That may seem trivial, but absolutely critical to understand what it is you're doing and why you're doing it and where it's leading to keep yourself motivated to do the practice. It's not actually optional. Up until this time, I haven't really said it that way because I want to get people interested and get them to at least this point. But if you really want to make progress, you need to know what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, where it's taking you. And that's a huge part of keeping your motivation fresh and strong from day to day. Okay? Foundation 1, intensive breath meditation. So think about in the 9 stages of meditation, think about the first 2 stages, placing the mind and fixation with some continuity. The primary problem you have is that the mind jumps off the object and runs around and doesn't stay on the object. So what we're doing with breath meditation here is not trying to attain enlightenment, not trying to have a really peaceful session, which is not really going to happen until you get to stages 5 through 9 in the calm abiding process. But Instead, we're trying to apply extremely forceful attention to place the mind on the breath and keep it there without losing it for 21 breaths. Yes? So, what are the meditative competencies, the meditative capabilities that we're gaining? We're gaining the ability to place the mind somewhere and then to keep the mind where we put it for a period of time, right? That's that's the only thing we're doing with breath meditation here. We're not taking it into stages 3 and 4. We're not taking it past into stages 5, or now we're trying to release effort by keeping it on the breath. The breath is a terrible object unless you're going to spend a lot of time in retreat. The breath is a terrible object to try to generate mental lucidity and freshness, which is why if you're going to release effort and try to keep the mind, while trying to keep the mind bright and fresh, I have other objects for that later in the course, right? Foundation 4, where you're opening the sense gates, is much better for keeping the mind fresh. Body scanning, much better for keeping the mind fresh, which is why we're going to move on to those later in the course. Right. Important note, since we're in retreat, the way the course is set up is it's geared for people who are basically not in retreat. So there are all sorts of positions that I talk about, standing, walking. We're going to be doing those less in retreat than you would do in real life. Instead, what we're going to be focusing on is seated practice. We'll do a bit of standing practice. We'll do a bit of walking. In terms of general sitting conditions, we're going to be doing a lot of sitting. So find a comfortable location. It doesn't have to be an altar room. It doesn't have to be a perfect cushion. You don't have to fold your legs in Vajra position or full lotus. Just make yourself comfortable. That's the key. Again, you're not working on the final stages of calm abiding here. You're working on just getting your mind to stay on a particular object. So having your body be comfortable will help you to keep your mind on a particular object for a period of time. Okay? The key point is keep your back straight and relatively relaxed. Right? So your back is upright, but relatively relaxed. Also, we're keeping the session very short. The reason is because we're doing extremely high intensity of concentration. Remember what Pabonka Rinpoche said? When you're trying to attain the first 2 stages of concentration, you need to have really high intensity, forceful conveying of attention to the object. So since we're doing forceful conveying and we're only doing 5 minutes, any adjustments you make to your body during that period of time is a distraction. If we were going to sit for a long period of time doing this type of practice, you would need to adjust your body to keep it comfortable at this level of practice. But it's only 5 minutes. So do your best to not move your body for 5 minutes while doing these intensive sessions. Let's see. Since we're going to be doing a lot of sessions today, a lot of 5-minute sessions, when you reach 7, right? So we're counting 1 to 7 and then 7 back down to 0. So when you reach 7 or when you reach 0, for example, you can just take a moment, and if something's really hurting or something's really uncomfortable, you can just move a little bit to put it in the right position again, and then carry on with the next round of counting. But at least when you're counting from 1 to 7 and 7 back to 0, at least during that period of time, because we're going to do that 3 times, don't move your body, okay? Good. When you move your body, be intentional and deliberate. In other words, if you're sitting here and your shoulder's hurting and you got to 7 and you're going, okay, I'll relieve the pressure now. Don't go like this, just put your mind in the shoulder for a moment. Try to get the shoulder to relax into a position that's a little better, and then carry on with the counting. Okay? Don't wiggle around. Just try to put your mind in the place and make it relax, or adjust it slowly and make it relax, and then carry on with the session. So remember, what is it we're doing in foundation? When we're placing the mind and when we are trying to get fixation with some continuity, what are we doing on the first two stages of meditation? It'd be kind of cool if I actually had you guys on camera, then I could bother you. So what are we actually doing? What we're actually doing is we're trying to gain the ability at will. Thanks, Alexandros. We're trying to gain the ability at will to be able to bring our mind to an object, right? That's the first skill. No, I didn't check your shoulder. I just have a bad shoulder, so it was the first thing on my mind. So what are you trying to do in the first two stages of calm abiding? Of these 9 stages, you're trying to first gain the ability to place the mind on the object and then to hold it there with some continuity. Yes? So when you start the session, when I say, okay, go, don't sit there and go like this and play with your head and then sort of like, like do all these things that people do to try to get into a meditative state. When we say go, imagine that somebody has picked up a sword and they're standing over you, and from that moment they say, if you lose your concentration, I'm going to cut you in half. Right? From that moment, bang, full effort. Why? Because the skill we're gaining is bringing the mind to the object of meditation. Yes? Good. So first, let's start preparing to actually do a session now, and we will slowly get there together. Okay? So first, adjust your posture. One technique you can use to adjust your posture that I like a lot is you can make circles like this. So get your legs in whatever position is comfortable, and then just make wide circles, and then go the other direction. And you can even lean back on the back way. And this will just kind of loosen your hips and move your hips around quite a bit. And then try to just relax everything and let your body come to the middle position. Now, it's hard to see. I think I'll go full video for a second. Black is not the best color for this. It's hard to see, but if you look at my spine and my chest, I'm not going like this, right? So I'm not relaxing to the point where my chest is collapsing down. My chest is staying up, but I'm also not going like this. I'm not raising my chest unnaturally and making my upper back tense. I'm just here, right? So that my upper back has its natural gentle curve, but I'm not relaxing it like a noodle, and I'm not holding it rigidly upright like a military person. Okay? So it's just here in its natural slight curve without being collapsed, without being hyper alert. And for the lower back is opposite. So the lower back sways in a little bit, and I'm not artificially straightening that, and I'm not swaying so much that my body is falling backwards, obviously, right? So you're keeping that natural S curvature of the spine without letting it collapse and without holding it so rigid that you're like a military person. For the head, you don't want to let your head collapse forward like this. And this is another common error. A lot of people do this, which is, again, it's a bit like in chiropractic work, they call it the military neck, where you go like this and you push your chin back, right? And that artificially removes the curvature of the upper neck. And that's not appropriate posture. So appropriate posture is, if you look at the position of my neck, I'm not here, I'm not here, I'm just here in the natural position for the neck. And then I'm not tucking my chin by pulling it back, right? What I'm doing is I leave everything in the natural position, and then this joint here, I just rotate down slightly, right? See? So I'm taking this top joint this top joint of the neck, and I'm just rotating that down. So I'm not doing anything with the neck in terms of adjusting that curve. I'm just letting the weight of the face and the head drop down, and it slightly raises the back of the neck here and opens this joint at the top. One way to think about it is if you put your hands here behind your ears, there are these big bony knobs here. And if you just gently lift from there and see where your chin wants to go when you gently lift from there, that is the natural position that is easy to maintain when doing meditation. Okay? Same thing for the shoulders. If we're looking at the shoulder joint, you don't want to be here, which you'll see quite a few meditators doing. But then after about 10 minutes of maintaining this unnatural shoulders back rigid posture, you'll see them doing this stuff because you can't hold it there and be comfortable for more than a few minutes. So you also don't want to be here where the shoulder is rolled over and down in front like this. That's also going to make the middle of your back here will start to get uncomfortable because you're stretching and pulling the tissue in an unnatural way. So again, don't put the shoulders unnaturally back. Don't roll them unnaturally forward. Just let them settle into where they would like to be. If you'd like to get some sense of where they'd like to be, take your thumbs, put them like this, and rotate them outwards. And then just try to relax your shoulders. And then keeping your shoulders where they are, but letting your elbows rotate back in. Just place them on your knees, or place them on your, or place them in your lap. Again, the hand position is not super important. It's just more important that you be comfortable at this level of training. So in terms of finally foot position, you can place your feet like this if that's comfortable. You can do full lotus if that's comfortable. You can do half lotus where one is on the inside like this. You can stack them. You can stack them like this. You know, it's really up to, or you can not stack them and have them staggered like this. It doesn't matter. At this level of practice, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that whatever position you're in is comfortable, because you don't want your mind to be distracted by pain in your knees, pain in your hips. So just find a comfortable position for your legs. All right. One detail that can help with that is if your hips are a little bit higher than your knees, then your hips tend to relax down like this, and then it's easier to maintain everything else above that. So we have our legs in a comfortable position. The hips are in a natural position, so we have that natural curvature of the spine. The hips are slightly higher than the knees. We have the natural curvature of the upper spine. We're not doing this, so we're not collapsing forward. We have that natural position of the shoulders. They're relaxed and down, but in a proper position. The hands can be wherever you'd like, as long as they feel comfortable. One great meditator, let me just sort of aim at my lap for a second here. One great meditator, it was either Jinlam Rinpa or Truden Rinpoche, I can't remember. But he said, based on his experience, that if the hands are hanging down like this, all the way deep into your lap, it tends to be a little bit uncomfortable if you're sitting for a long period. And so what he recommended is that you have a little bit of fabric in the center here, so that you don't have to hold your arms up in the position if you have them in your lap, that they can actually rest on something rather than hanging down or having to be held up, for example, in a traditional Buddhist meditative posture. So if you're going to put your hands in the middle, put a little bit of fabric or a blanket or something here to hold the arms up in the correct position. Yeah. If you're just going to put your hands on your knees, then just, again, get the shoulders in the correct position, let them relax, and then without artificially drawing them back or letting them roll forward, just rest them here on the knees. Okay, up to you. So we've done that. We're finally at the level of the neck. Don't do the military neck. Don't let your head jut forward. Just let it be in a natural curve and then gently lift the back of the head or gently drop the chin to open up that joint at the top of the spine. So now we have a proper posture. Let's go back to looking at the document. So we're going to do one 5-minute session. And then when we come back, we're going to do probably 3 or 4 5-minute sessions for the remainder of the sessions for the day. So we've now covered everything that's required besides the instructions for this particular practice to actually be able to do the practice. We're properly motivated. We know how to sit. And now we just need the instructions for this particular practice. So I'm going to be your timekeeper. I'll set a little timer. Let's see. And the instructions for the practice are pretty simple. Yeah. So the instructions are this, and most of you know this already from doing the course, but I'm going to go over it anyway. So you're going to place the attention on the very tip of one nostril. So what does that mean? It means that if this is the tip of my nostril, you'll find that there's some part of the inner nostril here on the tip somewhere that's very sensitive. And you're going to place all of your attention that is normally spread over your whole body, your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your thoughts, and you're going to take all of that and try to pool every bit of your being into this little tiny patch of skin inside your nostril. So first do this. One of your nostrils, you'll feel there's more sensation that you're breathing more through that nostril. So breathe in. So for me today, it's this nostril. And so therefore, I'll pick this patch of skin. So just inside the nostril here, right? Inside, there's a little patch of skin there, very sensitive. So I place my mind there. And what are the instructions once I've placed my mind there? I'm going to merely observe the sensations of breathing and count the breath. So what this means is you're not trying to analyze, is it a long breath? Is it a short breath? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? What does this mean? What is it? There's no analysis. You're simply observing. You're just feeling the actual sensations of the breath on the tip of the nostril, and that is all. In order to enhance our ability to notice when we've lost the object, we're going to count the breaths. How do we count the breaths? If you have trouble visualizing, then mentally say the number. But if you can visualize and mentally say the number, that's very good. So what you're going to do is about arm's length in front of you, right? About here, about at the level of your third eye, right? You're going to visualize here in front of you a number 1. And I find it's easier to visualize it as white on a black background because the background is naturally black when you haven't visualized anything, because we associate having our eyes closed with being in darkness. So you're going to visualize 1, and then you're going to visualize 2, then you're going to visualize 3. Okay? So how do we actually do the practice? You breathe in, you breathe out, and then you visualize and count 1. And then you let that visualization go, return to the breath, breathing in, 1, breathing out, visualize 2, and say 2 in your mind. Go back to the breath, breathing in, breathing out, visualize 3. When you get to 7, you turn around and you go back down. So you go 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When you get to 0, then you stop for a moment and hold your breath and just observe your mind. And then you start again. And we're going to do 3 rounds of breathing, or we will simply stop when the timer gets to 5 minutes. Okay, so whichever one comes first. Either you're going to do 21 breaths by counting from 1 to 7, 7 to 0, or you're going to do 5 minutes, right? Whichever one comes first. Okay, any questions before we begin? Would be good, actually, if you don't have questions, to say, I don't have questions. I'm not sure who the 3 are that's with us. Is it Kushagra and Natty? Who else is with us? Right. Well, I'm not sure who the third person is. Maybe somebody from the course, maybe somebody from outside. In any case, we will carry on with the actual session, okay? So let's do a session. So first, set your posture. Do a few circles in each direction. Okay, and the session begins now. Place your mind with great force. Hopefully that didn't come through as stunningly loud on your side. uh, uh, I'll put the alarm further away from the microphone for the next one. Uh, oh, nice. I only got through like 1.5. Okay. Uh, During the break, like I said, take time to read the documents we've already covered, or for you, Nat, because we're in very different time zones, catching up on the videos that you're behind on, and then use that time to read the notes and such. Just continue immersing your mind in the material. If you need to take a nap, take a nap. And then I think, Nat, you're going to end up going to bed, and then tomorrow you'll catch all the ones we do this evening. You'll catch those first thing in the morning, and then we'll be back on together. So for those who are staggered in terms of time zone, for the sessions where I'm live and you're awake, let's try to be on those together. And the times where I'm asleep or you're asleep and we're out of sync, use that time to catch up on the videos you didn't do. Hope that makes sense. Okay, I will see those of you who can make it. I will see you after the break. So we'll resume at 3 London time. Yes? Okay.